Have you ever noticed how a single statement from Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve of the United States, can turn your financial world upside down in just minutes? The dollar spikes, inflation seems to speed up, and your investments shake suddenly, all because of a short speech that reverberates globally. It almost seems like Powell holds an invisible remote control of the world economy, triggering rises and falls that reach every corner, from Latin America to Europe, from Asia to Oceania. Today, I'll show you how to understand this complex game behind the Fed speeches to protect your wealth and even find opportunities to grow your finances. If you're tired of shallow, confusing news that only generates fear, stay with me until the end. Here you will learn to read between the lines of Powell's words and get ahead, prepared for any market turn. The Fed chairman plays a central role commanding U.S. monetary policy, which affects your daily life more than you imagine. The Fed sets interest rates that affect the cost of credit, inflation, employment, not just in the U.S. but worldwide. Think of the Federal Reserve as the conductor of a massive global economic orchestra, and Powell as its maestro. When he speaks, the whole world stops to listen because his words anticipate the rhythm the economy will follow. But beware, these speeches are not simple statements. They're coded messages, the famous Fed speak, a carefully crafted language to avoid panic or euphoria, but that carries crucial clues for those who understand the game. Have you ever wondered what Powell really means when he talks about persistent inflation, or that the Fed is being patient with interest rates? These expressions appear in his interviews and speeches and directly impact your portfolio, even if you don't realize it. Let's talk about speeches that shook the global markets in 2025, when Powell said in June, "We're going to keep interest rates high. The best thing we can do for the American people is to restore price stability." This statement wasn't just a message to Americans. It caused immediate market drops worldwide, dollar appreciation, and strong pressure on emerging market currencies, including those in Latin America, Europe, Asia, and Oceania. This moderately restrictive policy, as Powell called it, signals that economic pressures will remain intense, raising borrowing costs and making it harder for consumers and companies in all four regions to access credit. In July, he confirmed his position by denying imminent rate cuts, saying, "I will not substitute the committee's judgment. We still have data to analyze." This sentence dashed any hopes for immediate financial relief and sparked huge volatility in global markets. Think now, have you felt the impact of this in your investment, grocery bills, or gas prices? These are not just words. They are decisions that alter the entire global economic landscape. But why does the Fed speak in code? Fed speak exists to control market reactions. Powell avoids being too direct to prevent panic or wild euphoria. When he says inflation is stubborn, he's essentially warning prices might keep rising longer, signaling possible further rate hikes. When stating he is being patient with interest rates, he signals that cuts won't happen soon, even if the economy cools, forcing the market to adjust expectations. Economists and traders spend hours parsing every word, tone, and pause to decipher the real message. Have you ever wondered how you react to this news? Do you get anxious or take the time to understand what's behind the headlines? Learning this language is vital to avoid rash decisions and position yourself better amid market swings. The effect of Powell's words goes far beyond borders. It's like a domino effect that spreads fast. A U.S. monetary policy declaration causes stock markets to drop, the dollar to rise, and immediate effects on currencies and emerging markets across Latin America, Europe, Asia, and Oceania. International funds pull capital from these regions, causing local interest rates to rise, inflation to climb, and harsher costs for businesses and consumers. This means your mortgage, daily purchases, and even job security get caught up in these decisions. For instance, after Powell confirmed maintaining high interest rates, currencies in Latin America and Asia saw significant losses, while European and Oceanian stock markets experienced increased volatility and credit costs. Have you noticed a crisis popping up out of nowhere soon after a Fed announcement? Or seen the local economy shift suddenly without clear reasons? That's the power of Powell's words at work. How does this global impact hit your doorstep, especially if you're in Latin America or other regions? High U.S. interest rates mean higher borrowing costs locally, making mortgages, loans, and even rents more expensive. The cost of basic living, food, energy, also gets heavier for families and small businesses. Small and medium enterprises, the backbone of local economies, quickly feel the pinch of more expensive credit, often forced to cut investments or even lay off workers to balance the books. This happens because Powell's signals of a moderately restrictive policy imply rates may stay elevated, keeping pressure on the entire global economic chain. Have you felt this cascading effect in your wallet? Or witnessed local businesses struggling after one of these Fed declarations? Understanding this connection between Fed speeches and your daily life can help avoid unpleasant surprises. Now, let's look at practical examples illustrating how investors navigate this global scenario. When Powell spoke about persistent inflation in early 2025, some investors quickly moved their assets to safer investments like U.S. Treasury securities. With this strategy, they protected their wealth as stock markets plunged and volatility spiked. On the other hand, investors less attentive, who stayed heavily exposed to volatile equities and ignored the signals, suffered losses. Market professionals monitor Powell's statements obsessively, positioning themselves even before Fed meetings, aiming to profit from the swings. Have you ever wondered which profile you relate to more? The one who times the moves, or the one dominated by fear? Learning from these cases can be the difference between losses and gains. What can you do to protect and grow your wealth in this unstable environment? First, diversify your investments to avoid relying on a single asset or region, as the Fed's decisions have varied and rapid impacts. Second, avoid impulsive decisions based on alarming headlines or shallow analyses. Always seek full context from official speeches. When Powell says policies are modestly restrictive, that's a call to review your strategies calmly and wisely. Also, see market volatility not as an enemy but as an opportunity. Those who know how to use this movement can buy low and sell high, increasing their wealth even in tough times. Are you ready to think strategically and act calmly? Or will fear still control you? It's also important to be alert to how politicians, media, and large investors may distort or manipulate Powell's messages for their interests. Sensational headlines often exaggerate speeches to create unjustified panic or euphoria. For instance, when Powell denied imminent rate cuts, some outlets portrayed it as a sign of economic collapse, even though economic data remains solid. These distortions affect investor confidence across continents and can lead to poor decisions. So keep a critical eye, seek trusted sources, and don't accept everything at face value. Ask yourself, are my actions based on facts or distorted information? The good news is you can prepare and stop being a victim of market volatility caused by Fed speeches. You don't need to be an economist to understand the essentials that make all the difference between losing and gaining money. Decoding the Fed speak, following trends carefully, and acting rationally put you in control of your finances, no matter where you are, in Latin America, Europe, Asia, or Oceania. This way, you stop being a victim of swings and become the protagonist, confidently surfing the waves of the global market with strategy. After all, How do you want to be seen once you've learned all this? Someone who's afraid or an informed, prepared investor? If this content made sense to you, please hit the like button, share with those who need to hear this, and leave your questions or experiences with Powell's global impacts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel to not miss our upcoming videos that will help you get even more prepared to understand and act in the market. For those wanting to go further, we offer exclusive materials and VIP groups analyzing Fed speeches in real time, providing practical tips for protecting your money amid changes in Latin America, Europe, Asia, and Oceania. Don't just watch the economy change. Join the game, play to win, and stay one step ahead of the market. See you in the next video.